and scrapping. Yeah. Today we're going to be doing the linkage for the front end, at least attempting it. So what I got to do first is I decided that this piece would probably work. I just need to cut it off somewhere in here, and then I'll start looking at the rest of this. I think I'm going to cut off one of these ends and put it on and see what it looks like. So I'm probably going to have to cut these down a little bit now, but so be it. Want this right on the end. And yes, these are hot. Be careful. Yada. Yeah, I think that's the only way. Alright, so I'm going to cut off a little bit more of this. Then we'll go from there. I'm going to take this over, grind them down, and get ready to weld them. So I will be right back. Alright, so what I did is I ground these guys flat and made a little V on the edge, so that way when we weld it we get some good penetration. Kickity. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mock this side up, and then we'll have to cut this side down and do the same thing. So now what I'm doing, I'm going to run and clean these guys up. You see how crappy they are? Because I can't cut straight for anything. Then we got to mock them up and give them a tack. So after a lot of grinding, and a lot of temperature, I got these so they're pretty much even. Not perfect, but it'll work for what we're doing. So time to mock up this other side. Hopefully I got enough off of here. And I'll go through all this at the end, like I said, so you can see it. Right, so I was working on the steering a couple weeks ago, and you're going to see that right before this. I just got busy and didn't get a chance to finish this up, so I just wanted to show how the steering turned out. And I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of how it came out, but this part at least worked. it's not pretty, but it works. Let's put it that way. And the thing I don't like is I don't have a huge turning radius. So I will probably come back through and redo the steering at some point. But for the time being, I'm just trying to get this thing running. I want to get the engine on and everything, and then we'll come back and address this after the fact. I'd like to see how everything else is. But this is basically how this turned out, and I still need to clean it up and paint it, but yeah, the welds actually went on really good, so I'm not too worried about this falling apart or anything. And all this piece was your old foot pedal for the tractor, and then I just took the ends off the old steering. So for the moment, I'm just going to put this back in. Like I said, the turning radius isn't really that good in my opinion, so I will probably be changing that. And also the steering on the tractors just kind of sucks, so you could get away with it, but we'll see. I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, but I think I'm going to go with more of a go-kart style steering. But all I'm doing right now is just putting this back in, and I'm going to tighten up this for now, and then I'm going to start working on the steering here. But that may be for the next episode. So actually that is going to be for the next episode. So what you're going to see in this episode is the construction of the steering. So that's basically it. And then more or less, steering is set somewhere right in here. And I know it's going to be hard to do here, but that's full lock to the one side and full lock to the other side. So like I said, it's not good. Right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm building the steering rack. I just have the steering laid down here. But this was part of the front end of the actual mower deck, and I'm going to use this right here as a support. And I think I'm going to put a collar right here to hold the steering shaft, and then I may put a bar across the top too. But this seemed to be a good sturdy support. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up the metal, and then I'm going to weld this directly on, and then we'll put the steering shaft back on. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so what you're seeing me do here is I'm finding a collar, and what this is a collar off of the old gearbox for the wheel. So I use this collar because it's the perfect size to hold the steering shaft in place. And nothing here is totally perfect, it's just that it has to work. And be at the right angle for the steering. So if you notice, it's not perfectly centered, but it's centered to the gearbox. So now I just put on a little support beam on the top, weld that in place, and everything I'm basically just tacking it first because I need to go back through and weld the rest of it. But yeah, so that's that for now, and then I weld the rest of it together here and then take it for a test drive. Soon you're going to see, I'm going to release a video of me mounting the motor and the chain. You can see it all in the background here. But my editing days have been a little mixed up. So yeah, you'll see that soon. I've had to modify this a little bit since I got it all together. And yeah, I'll go through that in the next video. So here you go.
What you're seeing here real quick is a little bit of extra footage. What I did to make the steering a little better and to reduce some play is I took the old bushings out on either side of the shaft that goes across, and I replaced them with washers on the top and the bottom, and I welded them in place. And what this did was it took out a little bit of that play between the shaft and the actual wheel itself, so it made the steering a little tighter, because this is an old mower. It's from the early 90s, so it had a lot of wear and tear on that front steering. So yeah, right here you just see me put in those washers, weld them in place, and yeah, it just tightens up the steering so much. So if you have the same problem, this might be helpful. One thing I just want to make a note of too at the end here, in my testing I had a little bit of trouble with the steering shaft losing the nut that was on it. So what I did at the end, after I got everything the way I wanted it, was I put a little weld right at the bottom of the nut so that way it can't come off. So basically, me changing the angles of everything from the original steering setup, I had to flip one of the parts, and by flipping it, it made it so that after movement it would spin off. So you'll see me right at the end weld this, and that's why it's there. Also, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.